Sous vide is one of the nerdiest cooking techniques out there, so it was only a matter of time before this nerd dove on in. And what I found is that people seem to either love sous vide or really dislike it. So what's the actual science behind this polarizing cooking method? And which side is right? This is Minute Food. Since last year, I've been cooking my way through all the foods that the people who swear by sous vide swear by. And I'm gonna tell you my take, but first I want to shed some light on what sous vide actually is and how it works. Technically, the term refers to a specific way of prepping food by vacuum sealing it, not how you cook the food afterwards. But when most people talk about sous vide, they're referring to a specific cooking method. Cooking sealed up food in water at a relatively low and very precise temperature for pretty long periods of time with the help of this thingamajig, an immersion circulator. So that's the process we're going to be talking about here. And as far as culinary techniques go, it is an outlier. See, most cooking methods use a higher temperature than what you actually want the food to reach, even the methods we often call low and slow. These pretty hot temps heat food up pretty quickly, so the reactions we're trying to achieve through cooking them, like killing off bacteria to make food safe and breaking down connective tissues and pectin to make food tender, all these processes happen within a pretty reasonable amount of time. But cooking at these relatively high temperatures means that as your food cooks, its temperature will basically continue to increase. Which seems obvious. I mean, that's pretty much the point of cooking, right? But this is where sous vide makes its splash. It cooks at the precise temperature you want the food to end up at. So the food's temp will rise until it's as hot as the water. Then it'll just stay there. Assuming that temperature is high enough for those safening and tenderizing reactions to start happening in the first place, even if they happen super slowly at that temperature, given enough time, you can kill off just as many bacteria and break down tough compounds just as well as at higher heats, all while the food itself stays at whatever temperature you want. So you don't have to incinerate your chicken to the USDA-approved temperature of 165 Fahrenheit to make it safe to eat. Sous vide for a few hours at 145, give it a quick sear, and you'll get chicken that's safe and moist. And while you'd normally cook a chuck roast until it's beyond well done to break down all its connective tissue, you can sous vide it at 135 for a whole day or so. And you can break down those tough tissues, but leave the meat medium, or even rarer. Sous vide can create transformative effects in veggies, too. Give carrots a nice 183-degree bath, and you'll break down their pectin, making them nice and tender, but not their cell walls, which keeps them from turning to mush. I could go on, but my point is that by cooking food at low, precisely controlled temperatures for extended periods of time, you can get effects that are difficult, if not impossible, to get with other higher heat cooking methods. That's one big benefit to sous vide. Of course, figuring out time and temperature combinations that'll produce delicious, safe food requires a decent amount of knowledge about how various reactions proceed. That's where the nitty-gritty science behind sous vide comes into play. Luckily, a lot of people have done a lot of thinking and research on this, so there are a lot of great resources to draw from. We'll link to some in the description. But there's another upside to sous vide, too. It is a total breeze. I mean, you basically set and forget this thing for hours or even days. The most work you have to do is at the end. Since you're cooking at temperatures too low for the Maillard reaction to occur, you'll generally want to sear food after you sous vide it. Then there's the fact that with sous vide, you're cooking the food at the very temperature at which you want it done. So it's basically impossible for it to overcook. There's a huge window of time in which the food is perfectly done. Compare that to the very narrow window between undercooked and overcooked with those higher heat cooking methods. So if it's absolutely imperative that you don't ruin that pricey cut of meat, sous vide might be the way to go. This is why a lot of restaurants rely on sous vide. It ensures that, say, a steak is cooked exactly how the customer wants it each time they come through the door. But how about me? Am I a sous vide convert? Well, no. I know, I just spent multiple minutes telling you all about what the weird science of sous vide can do for you. And that is all true. I mean, it definitely is easy. And it has enabled me to transform foods in interesting ways. But in a lot of cases, I don't actually think those transformations are an improvement over higher heat cooking. Some transformations have impressed me, but here is my biggest issue with sous vide. I really dislike the actual process, especially when it comes to meat. The whole thing. bagging up food in plastic, plunking it in water, letting the whole setup hum away for what seems like forever, then sliding a squishy gray blob out of the bag. It all feels weirdly like a science experiment. And while I'm the first to say that cooking is all about science, the sous vide process just kind of turns me off, especially compared to the much more appealing sensory experiences, the sizzles, the stirring, the smells of other cooking methods. With that said, I don't think sous vide is a blight on humanity. I'm really glad it's out there for the people who do love it. And my take is that those people probably fall into one of two camps, based on those big advantages we talked about earlier. If you're really into experimentation in the kitchen and love new food experiences, you'll probably enjoy the transformative power of sous vide. And if you're really into meal prep, or you want to serve a dozen perfectly cooked steaks at your weekly dinner parties, you'll probably enjoy the ease of sous vide. As for me, it's another tool in my repertoire that I'll probably use occasionally when I'm feeling particularly inspired or particularly busy. And if nothing else, an immersion circulator is great at defrosting frozen stuff and is a very convenient way to chill wine. And even the haters can't hate on that. This is our 25th Minute Food video. And you know what I'm most proud of about what we do? No, it's not the ridiculous number of obscure references we slip in, or the amazing comments we get from our awesome viewers. It's the fact that we are dedicated to making every single episode of Minute Food free to watch. We want everyone to be able to science their way to amazingly delicious food. The thing is, giving your workout for free is a terrible way to make a living. Sure, we get the occasional sponsorship and a fraction of a cent for every view. But that doesn't actually cover our costs. So if you appreciate what we do, consider joining our Patreon community and chipping in, even just a little bit, to make sure we can keep making Minute Food videos and giving them out for free. Bonus, you'll get awesome perks like gorgeous printables and behind-the-scenes updates. Come join us at patreon.com/minutefood.